What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here today with another video. And today we're bringing you our Florida preview prediction video. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Check out the description for links to our podcast, website, Patreon, and College Football Roundup channel. You can also find ways to donate and support the show. You can also find a link to our new shop that we have and get some merchandise. You can also find a link to join. So make sure you guys check that out. And let's get going with today's video. Again, help me reach that goal of 1,000 subs. We're closing in on that monetization point. But let's go ahead and dive in. So last year the Gators went 6-7 overall, 3-5 in the SEC. They had some big wins. They beat Utah week 1 of the season in a huge game down in the Swamp, 29-26. They actually start off this season with Utah. They did play close to South Florida, 31-28. Played close with Missouri, beat them 24-17. But they destroyed A&M on the road, 41-24, and destroyed South Carolina at home, 38-6. They destroyed Eastern Washington as well, 52-17. So they had some big wins and some bad losses. Year one, again, for Billy Napier, they lost at Vanderbilt 31-24, got killed by Oregon State in the bowl game 30-3, lost to Georgia 42-20. So, they kind of had a rocky up and down type season in Billy Napier's first season with them. They do lose their quarterback, Anthony Richardson. That's the big piece, but they only returned 3 starters on offense, 4 on defense. They do bring in Graham Mertz, the quarterback from Wisconsin, as a transfer. So we'll see what they can do with this new roster that they have. But let's go ahead and dive into their schedule. So week 1, they start off at Utah. This game is a loss. Utah is absolutely going to smack them and get revenge for the game last year. Graham Mertz just can't make plays to win ball games like Anthony Richardson could. Also, Cam Rising is going to he had a bit of a sophomore slump last year. He's going to be improved from that. Florida's a worse team this year than they were last. Utah is a better team. I mean, it's just that simple. Utah will beat Florida by, 2+ touchdowns in this game. I don't really think it's much of a discussion point. Not really anybody other than maybe Florida fans will say that Utah will win this game. I mean, that Florida will beat Utah in this game. Then they get McNeese at home. This is a win. Don't think there's any, discussion needed for this one. I think this is pretty obvious who's going to win. I think this will be a good game for Graham Mertz in the offense to kind of get back on their feet and just the team in general before they get the tough one, Tennessee, at home. But I think this is a loss. Tennessee's just going to have too much offense for Florida to keep up with. Now, Florida could score some points on that Tennessee defense. They played them kind of close last year, lost on the road by 5. But again, Graham Mertz just doesn't make those plays that Anthony Richardson does to win games for you or to keep you in games. He just doesn't have that same ability as Mertz. Mertz doesn't as Richardson. So I think they lose this game, and I think it's by at least 10+ points. We'll see how Joe Milton does with these new receivers as well. That could be something to watch. I could see Florida, maybe hanging close, but I don't see it likely. Then they get Charlotte at home. This is a win. Charlotte may be one of the worst. Well, they are one of the worst, maybe the worst FBS team in the country. I don't think, again, this game needs much discussion. I think Florida wins this game pretty easily. And again, another easy game before a tough matchup. Then when they go on the road to Kentucky, I think this game is a loss. So I think it comes down to quarterback play. I think the rest of the rosters are pretty similar. I do think Kentucky's defense is a little bit better. Probably have a few more pieces that are a little bit better on offense. But the biggest thing to me is the quarterback differential between Devin Leary and Graham Mertz. I think Devin Leary is a much better quarterback. I think Devin Leary will outplay Graham Mertz in this game, and I think ultimately that will lead Kentucky to a win, and I think they will win this game against Florida. Then Florida plays Vanderbilt at home. I think this is a win. Vanderbilt kind of, making some moves, getting a little bit better. But I still don't think they're to that point yet where they can compete with teams like Florida. Where they can compete with teams like Florida. At the end of the day, Florida is still just much more talented than Vanderbilt is. I do think Vanderbilt will be better than expected this year, but I don't think they're going to beat Florida. I think Florida will win this game. And when I say compete with teams, excuse me. When I say compete with teams like Florida, I mean consistently year-to-year basis. Yes, they can beat these kind of teams every now and then. They beat them last year at home, 31-24. But I just think that Vanderbilt is not to the level to consistently play with teams because Florida, they are they are going to be one of the worser teams in the SEC this year, but they still have some pieces on that offense. Ricky Pearsall last year, 33 catches, 661 yards, 5 touchdowns. They bring in the freshman at receiver, Andy Jean. They got Montreal Johnson and Trevor Etienne back at running back. Graham Mertz was a 5-star quarterback out of high school. They have the secondary back. They have Princely Uman and however you pronounce the dude's name. They've got him back also. So they have some good players back. They do. And they have a talented group still. And so I just don't think Vanderbilt's level of players is to that point yet. But then Florida goes on the road to South Carolina. I think they win this game. They beat them so bad last year. And, I just feel like Florida's going to win one of these games and get another SEC win. And South Carolina was really the only team I saw on the schedule to get an SEC win. So I think they'll get 2. And I think South Carolina will be one of those. South Carolina was just, one of the only other teams I saw. You'll see who I have them beat later. I'm sure some of you can guess. But South Carolina was just the only other team out of the list that I see Florida potentially beating. Then they get a bye week, a much-needed bye week before they play Georgia in Jacksonville. They're going to lose this game. Georgia is going to run them off the field in the discussion next game. Arkansas. I think they lose this game as well. I think Arkansas is a team that could potentially play down to Florida's level and end up losing this game. I could see this as a winnable game for Florida, but I just don't think they will win. I think Florida will get the win, and I think Florida will get the win. And Arkansas will get the win, but I could see Florida potentially getting the win in this game. Then they go on the road to LSU. Again, like the Georgia game, LSU is going to curb stomp Florida. It's not going to be close like it was last year where Florida lost by 10. They're going to lose by even more than that this year in Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. LSU is going to kill Florida. In the discussion, on to Missouri. And I think this is that third SEC game that Florida gets after Vanderbilt. They lost to Missouri. They beat Missouri by a touchdown last year at home. I do think that they're going to beat them again. Again, Missouri is one of those teams, kind of like Vanderbilt. They can beat, some of these teams, but they can't consistently compete with them on a year-to-year basis. I think Florida will win this game and win it by 10-plus points this year, honestly. Then they get Florida State at home, the rivalry game, but I think they lose this game. I think Florida State is just simply that much better than Florida State is that much better than Florida. I just think Florida State is going to win this game by 20-plus points. They only won by 7 last year, Florida State did, but again, Florida does not have Anthony Richardson. Graham Mertz cannot make the plays to keep you in games and keep games close or to even win games like Anthony Richardson could. So I think that's another loss. So I have Florida going 5-7 overall, 3-5 in the SEC. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. Click that notification bell so you won't miss any of the college football predictions we have. We're about to release a ton, multiple daily. So I hope you guys will check all those out. We'll see you guys next